I caught my brother sleeping with my wife and stealing my son, so I cut off all contact with him forever. Because you owe nothing to a traitor. The phone rang at exactly 6:59 p.m. on a quiet Tuesday evening. I was sitting on the porch with a cold beer in my hand, watching my wife, Colette, gently watering the tomato plants in the golden sunset. Life was peaceful. When the unfamiliar number appeared on the screen, I almost let it go to voicemail. My gut told me something was wrong. Should have probably, but something made me answer. Warren. I didn't recognize the voice at first. 15 years does that. Smooths out the familiar edges. Makes strangers out of people who used to know every corner of your life. Then he said my name again and I knew Floyd, my brother. I didn't hang up. I just waited. Let the silence stretch between us like a chasm neither of us knew how to cross. Colette looked up from her garden, saw my face, and quietly went inside. She knows that look knows what it means when I go still like that. Warren, please, Floyd said, and his voice cracked. I know I don't have the right to call. I know what I did was I just need to talk to you about the kids. The kids. That's what he called them. Like they were mine. Like I had any stake in the life you built on the ashes of mine. They're asking about you. He continued, words tumbling out desperate and fast. The girls. They see their cousins talk about Uncle Warren and they want to know why they don't have one. They deserve to know their family. Warren, they're innocent in all this. I let him finish, heard every word. Then I spoke and my voice came out flat and cold as concrete. You stole my wife. My son? And my peace. You don't get my forgiveness too. I hung up before he could respond. Sat there on my porch for another 10 minutes, beer growing warm in my hand. Colette came back out, stood behind my chair with her hand on my shoulder. She didn't ask. She already knew the answer. For 15 years, I gave them nothing. No calls, no letters, no messages through mutual friends, just silence. The kind that's louder than screaming, more final than any words I could have said. Today wasn't going to be any different. 15 years ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 27, working 60-hour weeks as a machinist at the industrial plant on the east side. The pay was decent. The hours were brutal, but I didn't mind. I had Kiara waiting at home, and Owen, my boy, 2 years old and already trying to say, Daddy every time I walked through the door. That kid was my whole world. I dragged myself home after a 12-hour shift, every muscle aching. And the second I saw his face light up, it was worth it every single time. I taught him to stack blocks, read him stories until my voice gave out, carried him on my shoulders until he fell asleep. I was building something, a life, a family, a future. Floyd was around a lot back then. My older brother, the successful one, civil engineer, nice car, effortless charm that made everyone love him within 5 minutes of meeting him. He'd stopped by to help out, especially when Kiara was having a rough time with Owen. Said he wanted to be a good uncle, wanted to support us. I trusted him completely. The way you trust blood, the way you trust someone who shared your childhood, your parents, your history. When he stayed over to babysit so Kiara could rest, I thought he was being a good brother. When he showed up with groceries and toys for Owen, I thought he was being generous. I was working so much I missed things, small things. The way Kiara started keeping her phone face down on the counter. The way Floyd's visits became more frequent. The way Owen had his eyes, his jawline. Features I convinced myself were just coincidence because families share traits, right? I missed all of it because I was too busy trying to provide, too busy being the good husband, the good father, the good man doing everything right. Then one October afternoon, my shift supervisor sent me home early. Equipment malfunction, plant shutdown, nothing for us to do until maintenance fixed the line. I remember being happy about it. Thought I'd surprise Kiara, maybe take her and Owen to the park before dinner. I pulled into the driveway at 2:15 p.m. The house was quiet. Floyd's car was parked on the street. I walked inside, heard voices upstairs. Laughter. I stood at the bottom of the stairs with my hand on the railing. Steel-toed boots still on, lunch pail still in my other hand. And I knew before I even started climbing, before I reached the bedroom door, I knew some part of your brain recognizes betrayal before your heart catches up. It's animal instinct, the kind that tells you when something's wrong, even when everything looks normal. I climbed those stairs anyway, opened the bedroom door, found them in my bed. My brother, my wife. I didn't say a word, didn't yell, didn't move, didn't even breathe for what felt like an eternity. Just pulled out my phone, took a picture while they scrambled and screamed and tried to explain, and walked back down those stairs. Got in my car, drove to a motel, sat on the edge of a bed that smelled like industrial cleaner and stale cigarettes, and started doing the math. I sat in that motel room for 3 hours, with a notepad I'd pulled from my truck's glove box. At the top of the page, I wrote Owen's birthday, March 14th. Then I counted backward, 9 months from March puts conception around June. I flipped through my phone's calendar, last year's version, the one I hadn't deleted yet. Found June 8th through June 22nd. Double shifts plan expansion project. I worked 16-hour days for 2 straight weeks. Came home after midnight every single night. Kiara said she was exhausted. That pregnancy was hard. That Floyd was helping with groceries and keeping her company. Floyd stayed over 4 times that month, so Kiara doesn't have to be alone. He'd said, "You're working so hard, man. Let me help." I stared at those dates until the numbers blurred. Then I pulled up photos on my phone, started scrolling through pictures of Owen. Really looked at them this time without the fog of love and trust clouding my vision. His eyes, hazel with gold flecks. Mine are brown. Kiara's are blue. His nose slightly hooked at the bridge, just like Floyd's. His ears stick out a little. Floyd's do that. Mine don't. His smile, lopsided dimple on the left side only. I'd always thought it was cute, unique. Now I recognized it. I'd seen that exact smile my entire childhood across the dinner table in family photos. Floyd's smile. I called out of work the next morning, told them I had the flu. Then I looked up pediatric clinics that did paternity testing and made an appointment for that afternoon. The clinic was in a strip mall between a dollar store and a nail salon. I told the receptionist I needed a routine checkup for my son. Filled out paperwork with hands that didn't shake even though they should have. Owen was perfect that day. Giggled when the nurse swabbed his cheek, thought it was a game, said Dada, and reached for me when she was done. I held him in the waiting room afterward while Kiara talked to the receptionist about scheduling his next appointment, and I memorized the weight of him in my arms because part of me already knew. The nurse said results would take 7 to 10 business days. I paid in cash so it wouldn't show up on our joint account. Kiara asked why we were at a different clinic than usual. I told her ours was booked up. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? I'd never given her a reason not to trust me. Those 7 days were the longest of my life. I went to work, came home, read Owen, bedtime stories, kissed Kiara goodnight, played my part in a life I was increasingly certain was built on a foundation of lies. Floyd texted me twice. "Hey man, can we talk?" I didn't respond. Kiara acted like nothing happened. Made dinner, did laundry, and sent me off to work with packed lunches like she wasn't sleeping with my brother in our bed while I paid our mortgage. On day 7, the clinic called. Results were ready. I left work during lunch break. Told my supervisor I had a doctor's appointment. Drove to that strip mall clinic with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The nurse handed me a manila envelope. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and opened it. Alleged father Warren Mitchell. Child Owen Mitchell. Probability of paternity 0% 0. Not low. Not unlikely. 0. I read the page 3 times. Checked the names. The dates. The case number. Made sure it was actually my test. Actually my son. Except he wasn't, was he? I sat in that parking lot for an hour. Watched people go in and out of the dollar store. A woman with 3 kids arguing over candy. An old man buying lottery tickets. Normal people living normal lives while mine disintegrated in a manila envelope on my lap. I didn't cry, didn't punch the dashboard, didn't call anyone. I just started making another list. By the time I got home that night, I had a plan. First, find a divorce lawyer. I Googled best divorce attorney near me and called the one with the most reviews. Made an appointment for the next morning. Took another sick day. Second, find an apartment. I looked at listings during my lunch breaks. Put a deposit down on a 1-bedroom across town. Move-in date, 1 week from today. Third, gather evidence. I already had the photo from the bedroom, had the DNA test, had the timeline. Had text messages I'd screenshotted where Floyd asked to help out with Kiara. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Beverly, who'd seen worse things than my situation, told me I had an airtight case. Adultery, paternity fraud, emotional damages. She filed the papers that afternoon. I moved out 3 days later. Took my clothes, my tools, my grandfather's watch, left the keys on the kitchen counter next to the divorce papers. Didn't leave a note, didn't explain, just walked out while Kiara was at her mother's and Owen was at daycare. Changed my phone number that same day. Kiara called my work 47 times the first day. I counted blocked the plant's main line from transferring her calls. Floyd showed up at my new apartment that night. I heard him through the door, pounding, shouting my name. "Warren, please let me explain. It just happened. We didn't mean Warren, open the door." I stood on the other side, beer in hand, and listened to my brother fall apart. Listened to him sob and beg and make promises. Never opened the door. Not once. He left after 20 minutes. I heard his footsteps fade down the hallway. Heard his car start in the parking lot, poured the beer down the sink, and went to bed. 3 days after I moved out, my phone rang. New number, one I didn't recognize, but somehow knew I should answer. "Warren," my mother's voice tight with disapproval. "We need to talk about what you're doing to your brother. Family is family. Mistakes happen. That boy needs his father." I cut her off. "Which father? Mom? The one who raised him or the one who actually conceived him?" Silence on the line long enough that I checked to see if she'd hung up. Then quietly, "Warren, you don't understand. You knew." The words came out cold. "Certain, you all knew, didn't you?" Her breath hitched. And in that tiny sound, I heard the truth. How long? I asked. Warren, please. How long? My mother sighed. The kind that carries years of justifications she'd rehearsed in her head. I didn't know. No. I suspected. Last Thanksgiving. The way Floyd looked at her. And Owen's features. They reminded me of Floyd when he was little. But I thought I was imagining things. Bees, the word came out sharp. You knew. You saw it and you said nothing. What was I supposed to do? Destroy your marriage over a suspicion? 'Cause drama when I wasn't sure? You could have told me the truth. I thought her voice wavered. I thought maybe I was wrong. And if I was right, I thought maybe you'd never find out. Maybe it would be better that way. Better for who? Not for me. I need you to think about what you're doing. She continued, recovering some of her usual authority. Floyd is devastated. Kiara is falling apart, and that little boy, Floyd's son, needs his father. Both of them. You can't just abandon. Watch me. I hung up. 10 minutes later, she texted, your father and I want to meet you, Floyd, Delia. We need to talk as a family. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, Murphy's Diner tomorrow at noon. This is the only conversation we're having. I arrived last. Intentional. They were already seated in a corner booth. Mom, Dad, Floyd, and my sister, Delia. Floyd looked like hell. Unshaven, rumpled shirt, dark circles under his eyes that could have been from crying or not sleeping or both. Probably both. I didn't greet anyone. Just slid into the booth across from them and waited. Mom started immediately. Warren, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult, but we need to work through this as a family. No. She blinked. Excuse me. We don't need to work through anything. I'm here to tell you how this is going to go. You're going to listen. That's it. Dad finally spoke up, his voice gruff and dismissive. Warren, you need to think about what you're doing. Floyd made a mistake, but he's devastated. That boy upstairs needs Floyd's son. I corrected. And I know he needs something. That's why Floyd should step up and be his father, since he is biologically speaking. Floyd's voice cracked. Warren, please. I know I screwed up. I know I can never make this right. But Owen, he's been calling you daddy for 2 years. You can't just I can. I did. The divorce papers are filed. The DNA test is submitted as evidence. My lawyer says I've got the cleanest case she's seen in years. Mom's face went white. You did a DNA test. 0% probability of paternity. Want to see the paperwork? The silence that followed was deafening. Delia finally spoke. Her voice small. Warren, I need to tell you something. I looked at her, my little sister, the one I'd taught to ride a bike, helped with algebra homework, walked down the aisle at her wedding. I suspected, she whispered. Last Christmas. The way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. But I wasn't sure and I didn't want to cause drama if I was wrong. So, you let me keep living a lie. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm sorry, I thought. I hoped I was imagining it. I stood up. Put $20 on the table for the coffee I hadn't touched. I'm done. I said with all of you. Floyd, you wanted Kiara? She's yours. You wanted to play daddy. Congratulations. But you don't get me too. You don't get my forgiveness, my understanding, or my presence at family dinners. Warren, Mom reached for my arm. I pulled away. You chose him. The second you suspected something and said nothing, you chose him. So live with that choice. Dad's voice hardened. You're being selfish. That boy is innocent. You're going to let your pride destroy a child's life. I leaned down, hands flat on the table. I didn't destroy anything. Floyd did, and every single one of you let it happen. So, no, I'm not going to light myself on fire to keep you all warm. I'm done. I walked out of that diner and didn't look back. The divorce hearing was 2 weeks later. Kiara fought for everything. Alimony, child support, half the house. Her lawyer painted me as a cold, heartless man abandoning his family over one mistake. Beverly destroyed them in under an hour. She presented the photo, the timeline, the DNA test, text messages between Floyd and Kiara that our phone provider had archived, or messages I'd subpoenaed that showed this wasn't a one-time thing. This had been going on for over a year. The judge barely deliberated. No child support, not my biological child. No alimony, adultery forfeits that right in our state. Assets split based on what I brought into the marriage, which was most of it. Clean break. Kiara tried to approach me afterward in the courthouse hallway. I saw her coming and turned the other direction, heard her heels clicking faster, her voice calling my name, kept walking out the door to my truck, drove away, never looked back. I changed everything after that. New phone number, new address across town where none of them knew, told my boss not to give out any information about me. When Floyd showed up at the plant 1 week later, security escorted him out while he screamed my name across the parking lot. I had Beverly send a certified letter to everyone. All future contact will be considered harassment and will result in legal action. Blocked Mom. Blocked Dad. Blocked Floyd. Blocked Kiara. Kept Delea's number, but never called. For 6 months, I lived like a ghost. Worked. Came home. Ate. Slept. Repeat. Didn't date. Didn't socialize. Didn't feel much of anything. Then one day, I was at the grocery store buying beer and frozen dinners when I saw them. Produce section all three. Floyd pushing a cart. Kiara beside him. Owen sitting in the child's seat laughing at something Floyd was doing. Peekaboo probably. Owen always loved that game. They looked happy, like a real family, like I'd never existed. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, watched them, waited for the anger, the pain, the grief to hit, felt nothing, just emptiness. I turned and walked to a different aisle, finished my shopping, went home that night. Delea called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Warren, her voice was careful. I wanted to tell you before you heard it somewhere else. Floyd and Kiara are getting married. I sat on my couch, beer in hand, and laughed. Actually laughed. Good, I said. Now they can stop pretending they weren't already a family. Delea was quiet for a moment. Are you okay? I'm fine, Warren. I'm fine, Delea. Really? They want each other? They can have each other. I'm done caring. And I was. The first year was hollow. I got promoted to shift supervisor 8 months after the divorce. More money, more responsibility, more hours to fill, so I didn't have to go home to an empty apartment and think about the life I'd lost. I went to therapy because the divorce court mandated it. Sat in a beige office every Tuesday at 6 p.m. and told a woman named Dr. Patel things I'd never said out loud. She asked how I felt. I told her I didn't. She said that was normal, that grief takes time, that healing isn't linear. I nodded and kept showing up because I had to date a few women. Nothing serious. Coffee here, dinner there. They'd ask about my family and I'd say, we don't talk. They'd push gently, wanting to know why. I'd change the subject or end things before they could ask again. Couldn't trust anyone enough to get close. Delea called every few months, asked how I was doing, told me about her kids. Iris was 5, Finn was 3. She'd mention mom and dad occasionally. They asked about you, I'd grunt non-committally. She got the message eventually and stopped bringing it up. Holidays were the worst. Christmas alone, Thanksgiving with a frozen dinner and whatever was on TV. My birthday came and went without a card from anyone but Delea. I was functional, working, paying bills, keeping my apartment clean. But I was going through motions, not living, just existing. That lasted 5 years. At 33, something shifted. I got promoted again. Plant supervisor, decent pay, benefits, respect from guys who'd worked there twice as long. Bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, fenced yard I didn't need, but it was mine. Started going to the gym. Not for any particular reason. Just needed something to do besides work and sleep. Met a few guys there who became casual friends. We'd grab beer after a workout, talk about sports and nothing important. One of them dragged me to a community center class. Stress management, he called it. I called it a waste of time, but went anyway because I had nothing better to do. That's where I met Colette. She was teaching the class, occupational therapist, early 30s, calm voice that somehow didn't make me want to bolt. She talked about boundaries, about recognizing stress patterns, about giving yourself permission to say no. I stayed after to ask a question about something she'd mentioned. We talked for 20 minutes. She gave me her card. If you ever want to talk more about workplace stress management, I called her 3 days later. Asked if she wanted coffee. We dated for 2 years before I told her about Floyd and Kiara and Owen. Not because I didn't trust her, but because every time I tried to explain, the words stuck in my throat like broken glass. Finally told her one Sunday morning over breakfast. Just laid it all out. The affair, the DNA test, the divorce, the family who chose Floyd, the 15 years of silence. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't gasp or offer platitudes. Just listened. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for trusting me with that. That's all she said. And somehow it was enough. We moved in together 6 months later. She understood my boundaries, why I didn't talk to my parents, why certain dates made me quiet, why I flinched when someone mentioned family loyalty. With Colette, I remembered what peace felt like. Delea's kids became my anchor. Iris was 10 when I really started showing up. Smart kid, curious about everything. I taught her how engines worked, took her to science museums, helped with her school projects. She'd call me with questions about homework, and I'd walk her through it over the phone. Finn was 8, shy, and quiet until you got him talking about something he loved. Turned out he loved bikes. I taught him how to fix chains, adjust brakes, patch tires. Spent weekends in Delea's garage with him, grease under our fingernails, building something together. I showed up for school plays, birthday parties, soccer games, did the things uncles are supposed to do. Poured all that love I'd had for Owen into kids who actually deserved it. Delea appreciated it. Sometimes too much. She'd get this guilty look and say things like, "Mom asks about you," or "Floyd's having a hard time financially." My response never changed. "I don't care." She'd nod and drop it. Smart woman. My sister knew where the line was and didn't cross it. But she still told me things. Not because I asked. I never asked, just mentioned them in passing. Floyd and Kiara had twin girls, Jade and Ruby, born when Owen was 9. Delia showed me pictures once. I glanced at them and handed her phone back. Floyd's career had stalled. Got passed over for a promotion he'd been counting on. Money was tight. Kiara worked part-time. But it wasn't enough. Owen was struggling. Discipline problems at school. Angry kid. Delia didn't say it outright, but I could read between the lines. That family wasn't the happy picture they tried to paint. Mom had a stroke at 63. Delia called to tell me. Asked if I wanted to visit. I didn't. Dad got diagnosed with dementia at 67. Couldn't remember what he had for breakfast, but apparently still asked about me sometimes. Delia said he thought I was still working at the old plant, still married to Kiara. I didn't correct him, didn't visit, didn't send cards. The bridge wasn't just burned. It was ash. At 41, I proposed to Colette. Nothing fancy. Sunday morning, still in bed, coffee on the nightstand. Just asked her if she wanted to make this permanent. She said yes without hesitation. We planned a small wedding for the following spring. Close friends, Delia, and her family. Nothing elaborate, just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their pasts, building something new. I was content. Good job, good partner, solid boundaries. Didn't think about Floyd or Kiara anymore. Didn't wonder about Owen. That part of my life was over and I was okay with it. Better than okay. I was happy. Then came Iris's 13th birthday party. Delia threw it at her house. Backyard barbecue, kids running around, adults drinking beer and pretending to supervise. Colette and I showed up with presents. Iris hugged me tight and thanked me for the telescope I'd gotten her. I was standing by the grill, burger in hand, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I ignored it, took a bite of my burger. It rang again. Colette glanced over. "You going to get that?" I shook my head. "If it's important, they'll leave a message." Then Delia's phone rang. She answered it and her face went pale. She looked directly at me across the yard. "Warren," she called out. "It's Floyd. He says it's an emergency about the kids." Everyone in the yard went quiet. Colette touched my arm. "You don't have to answer." But after 15 years of silence, I was curious what could be so desperate that Floyd would track me down through Delia. I walked over, took her phone. "You have 60 seconds. Floyd's voice came through broken and raw like he'd been crying for hours, maybe days. "Warren, thank God. I know I don't deserve to talk to you. I know what I did was." His voice cracked. "I just need you to listen. Please just listen." I stayed silent. Looked at Colette standing a few feet away. She gave me a small nod. "Your choice." 50 seconds, I said. Floyd's words came rushing out, desperate and stumbling over each other. "Owen found out about everything. The affair, the DNA test, all of it. He pieced it together from something he overheard, confronted us. Warren, he's 17 now, and he ran away for 3 days. When he came back, he won't even look at me. Moved into Kiara's sister's place. Won't return my calls." I said nothing. "The twins, Jade and Ruby, they're 8. They're asking about you. They see Iris and Finn talk about their Uncle Warren who takes them to museums and fixes bikes with them. They want to know why they don't have an Uncle Warren." "What am I supposed to tell them?" "The truth," I said flatly. "Warren, please." 40 seconds. Floyd's breathing was ragged. "Mom had a stroke. She's in assisted living now. Can barely walk. Dad's got dementia. Doesn't remember half the family anymore. Kiara's working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. I got passed over for another promotion. We're drowning here, Warren. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for them. The girls, they're innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I. I know." Floyd's voice broke completely. "I know. I destroyed your life. I took everything from you. I've spent 15 years trying to figure out how to apologize, how to make it right, but I can't. I can't fix what I did. But Warren, they're just kids. They're family. Your nieces. Can you at least time's up?" Silence on the line. Then quieter. "What? You asked what you're supposed to tell your daughters. Tell them their father made choices that hurt people. That actions have consequences. That some bridges don't get rebuilt. Warren, you stole my wife, my son, and my peace. You don't get my forgiveness, too. They're just kids. They didn't. Neither did Owen. But you destroyed my relationship with him anyway. You wanted Kiara. You got her. You wanted to play father to a child you conceived in my bed. Congratulations. But you don't get me. You don't get my time, my money, or my absolution. You get to live with what you did, just like I've had to." Floyd's voice turned sharp. angry now that begging hadn't worked. So, you're really going to punish innocent children for my mistakes? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not rewarding you. There's a difference. You, heartless son of a. I hung up, handed the phone back to Delia. The entire yard was staring at me. Parents, kids, neighbors who'd wandered over. Nobody said anything. Colette broke the silence. You okay? Yeah, I said. I'm good. I took another bite of my burger. It had gone cold. Within an hour, my phone rang 3 more times. First was Mom. I recognized Delia's number again. Floyd must have given it to her. I answered because I was feeling generous or maybe just curious how far they'd go. Warren. Her voice was weak, slurred from the stroke. Your brother needs you. He's family. You have to forgive him. It's been 15 years. Not long enough. Those little girls deserve better than they deserve a father who thinks before he acts. They got Floyd instead. That's not my problem. Warren. Please, I'm your mother. I'm asking you. You stopped being my mother 15 years ago when you chose to protect Floyd instead of telling me the truth. Live with that choice. I hung up. Blocked the number. 10 minutes later. Another call. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in a decade. Then a family friend. Then someone who claimed to be Floyd's pastor. All the same script. Don't you think you're being harsh? It's been so long. Forgiveness is healing. Those children are innocent. I blocked each number after they finished talking. Didn't argue, didn't explain, just listened until they were done, then cut them off permanently. Delia found me in her kitchen washing my hands at the sink. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't know he was going to do that. He must have gotten my number from Mom's phone. It's fine, Warren. I'm not saying you're wrong. But those little girls, Jade and Ruby, they really are innocent in all this. I dried my hands on a towel, looked at my sister. I didn't stop anyone from letting it happen. I know. She hesitated. Floyd's desperate. He's talking about taking out loans he can't afford. Asking Mom and Dad for money they don't have to give. He made his choices. He gets to live with them just like I've lived with mine. Delia nodded slowly. Okay, I won't bring it up again. Thank you. We went back outside. Colette handed me a fresh beer. The party continued. But something had shifted. Everyone was careful around me now, like I was made of glass that might shatter if they said the wrong thing. I wasn't glass. I was steel. Forged in 15 years of silence and stronger for it. 2 days later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. Handwritten address. No return label. But I recognized the handwriting. Floyd's neat block letters. The way he'd been taught in drafting classes. I stood in my driveway holding it. Colette watched from the porch. What is it? Letter from Floyd. You going to read it? I opened it. 6 pages, front and back, crammed with words. I've spent 15 years trying to figure out how to apologize for destroying your life. I read the first page. Floyd's confession, detailed and self-flagellating. How the affair started. How guilty he felt. How he knew it was wrong but couldn't stop himself. How seeing me with Owen destroyed him every single day. Second page. Begging for forgiveness. Listing all the ways he tried to make amends over the years. Donations to charities in my name, prayers, therapy, talking to his pastor about his sins. Third page, photos tucked inside. The twins, Jade and Ruby, school pictures, smiling in matching dresses, drawings they'd made. Uncle Warren written in crayon at the top of one. Report cards. Birthday party invitations addressed to me that were never sent. Fourth page. Financial desperation. Medical bills for Mom. Care costs for Dad. Owen's therapy bills. The twin school needs. A plea for help. Any amount. Anything. If you ever had any love for me as your brother, please don't let my mistakes destroy my daughter's future. I stood there reading until I reached the last page. Then I walked to the trash bin at the side of my house. Colette called from the porch. Warren. I looked at her, at the letter in my hands. At the photos of 2 little girls who didn't ask to be born into this mess. Then I dropped it all in the trash. Didn't look back. Walked inside, washed my hands, and started making dinner like nothing had happened because nothing had. Colette didn't ask about the letter that night, just set the table while I cooked, and we ate in comfortable silence. Later, lying in bed, she turned to me in the dark. You okay? Yeah. You sure? I thought about it, really thought about it. I don't feel guilty. Is that wrong? No, she said quietly. It's not wrong. They want me to be the villain in this story. Let them. Those girls are innocent, though. That part's true. Colette propped herself up on one elbow. So are you. You were innocent when Floyd slept with your wife. You were innocent when your family covered for him. You were innocent when they asked you to sacrifice your peace for their comfort. Being innocent doesn't mean you're required to save everyone. I stared at the ceiling. Then why do I feel like I should? Because you're a good man. Good men second-guess themselves. But Warren, she waited until I looked at her. You don't owe them anything. Not guilt. Not money. Not forgiveness. Nothing. I pulled her close. Thank you for what? For not asking me to be someone I'm not. The calls kept coming for the next 3 weeks. Distant relatives I barely remembered. Floyd's co-workers. Someone who claimed to be Jade's teacher. All of them with the same message wrapped in different words. You're being cruel. Family is family. Those children need you. I blocked every single number. Then Mom called from the hospital. Another stroke scare. The nurse had to dial for her because her hands didn't work right anymore. Warren. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm dying. Your father doesn't remember any of us. Floyd is falling apart. Those little girls need family. Please. Before I'm gone, can you just? You chose Floyd over me 15 years ago. I said when you knew what he did and told me to forgive him. You made your choice. I made mine. I'm your mother. Doesn't that mean anything? I paused, felt the weight of that question. It used to. Then you sided with the son who destroyed my life instead of the one who did everything right. So, no, right now it doesn't mean much. She started crying. Weak breathy sobs that the stroke had made pathetic. You've become so cruel. No. I said. And for the first time, I felt anger crack through the ice. I became tired. Tired of being the one expected to sacrifice for everyone else's comfort. You want someone to blame for this? Blame Floyd. Blame yourself, but don't you dare blame me. I hung up. Sat on the edge of my bed with the phone in my hands. Colette came out of the bathroom. That sounded hard. She called me cruel. You're not. How do you know? She sat beside me because cruel people don't lose sleep over their choices. They don't question themselves. You're not cruel, Warren. You're just done. There's a difference. Floyd showed up at my house 2 days later. I was in the garage organizing tools when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Looked up to see Floyd's beat-up sedan and 2 small faces in the back seat. He brought the twins. I walked out to meet them, wiping grease off my hands with a rag. Floyd got out first. He looked worse than he sounded on the phone, thinner, grayer, defeated. The kind of worn down that comes from years of consequences finally catching up. The back doors opened. 2 little girls climbed out, holding hands. 8 years old, identical except for their haircuts. They looked scared. Warren Floyd's voice was hoarse. Please, just 5 minutes. You brought your kids to manipulate me. I brought them so you could see they're real. They're not abstractions. They're little girls who just want. Get back in the car, Floyd. Warren, get back in the car. The twins were staring up at me with wide eyes. I crouched down to their level. Kept my voice gentle. Hi. You're Jade and Ruby. Right? They nodded in unison. I'm Warren. Your dad and I used to be close, but he made some choices a long time ago that hurt me really badly. Do you understand what that means? The one on the left. Jade, maybe, whispered. He did something bad. Yeah. Something that can't be fixed. I hope you both grow up to be better people than he was. Make better choices. Okay. They nodded again, confused, but polite. I stood up, looked Floyd dead in the eye. You don't get forgiveness. You don't get my time. You don't get absolution. You get exactly what you gave me 15 years ago. Nothing. They're innocent. So I didn't stop you. Warren, please. I'm begging you. Just help with their school costs. Just acknowledge them as family. Something. Anything? No. Floyd's face crumpled. You're really this heartless? I'm this done. I turned and walked back to my garage. Heard Floyd crying, the car doors slamming, the engine starting. Didn't turn around until I heard them drive away. Colette appeared in the garage doorway. That must have been hard. It should have been, but it wasn't. No, I said it really wasn't. We got married that spring. Small ceremony in Delea's backyard. 20 people, mostly friends. Iris and Finn stood up with us. Colette's parents flew in from Arizona. My parents weren't invited. Floyd wasn't mentioned. It was perfect. 3 months later, Delia called while I was at work. I almost didn't answer. Nothing good ever came from unexpected calls, but I picked up anyway. Warren, I thought you should know. Floyd and Kiara filed for bankruptcy. Owen's living with Kiara's sister permanently now. Won't even visit them. The twins are on reduced lunch at school. Mom's full-time in the nursing home. Dad doesn't recognize anyone anymore. I listened. Felt the information settle without weight. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. Are you for Mom and Dad? Genuinely, yes. For Floyd, I paused. Not even a little. Delia was quiet for a moment. He called me last week. Asked if I thought you'd ever forgive him. What did you tell him? The truth, that some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Smart woman. I learned from my brother. That night I sat on my porch with Colette. Wedding ring still new on my finger. Beer in my hand, the life I built. The real one, the one that wasn't constructed on lies. Solid around me. Do you ever regret it? Colette asked. The last 15 years. The silence. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. Not even a little. They wanted me to be the bigger man. To sacrifice my peace for their comfort. But being the bigger man doesn't mean letting people destroy you. Sometimes it means walking away and never looking back. You did the right thing. Did I? She took my hand. You protected yourself. You drew boundaries. You chose your own peace over their convenience. That's not cruelty, Warren. That's survival. I looked at her. This woman who knew my worst story and loved me anyway. I don't owe them anything. Do I? No. You don't. Not love, not money, not time, not guilt, not a damn thing. I squeezed her hand. Good. People ask me sometimes if I ever felt bad about cutting them off. If I ever thought I was too harsh, too unforgiving, too cold. Here's the truth. No, forgiveness isn't mandatory. It's not a debt you owe people who hurt you. They wanted me to be the bigger man, to sacrifice my peace for their comfort. But I learned something in those 15 years of silence. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. I didn't abandon my family. They abandoned me the moment they chose Floyd over the truth. And I'm not heartless for refusing to set myself on fire to keep them warm. I'm just a man who learned that some bridges deserve to stay burned. Floyd made his choice 15 years ago. He chose passion over loyalty, Kiara over me, his own desires over my life. And my family made their choice when they sided with him. When they asked me to forgive the unforgivable, when they prioritized his comfort over my pain, I made my choice, too. I chose silence. I chose boundaries. I chose myself. And I don't regret a single goddamn thing. Not the divorce. Not the silence. Not the line I drew in the sand. Not the door I closed in Floyd's face. Not the letter I threw away. Not the phone calls I ignored because the only person I owed anything to was the man in the mirror and I finally learned to respect him. Some people will call this revenge. It's not. Revenge is active. This is passive. This is simply refusing to be complicit in my own destruction. Betrayers deserve consequences, not comfort. And I handled mine like a man with nothing left to lose and everything to rebuild. So no, I don't owe them love, money, time, or guilt. Not now. Not ever. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.